Today it is time to talk about our November wrap up. Yes, I know it is early in November, and if you're not in the United States, you might be thinking we still have a whole week left, but it is the week of Thanksgiving here in the US, and we are going to be celebrating, and so I am filming this on the Sunday before Thanksgiving to wrap up the month. Since we won't have any formal school for the rest of the month of November, we will be into December, and I will talk later about our December plans and how we handle Christmas and Christmas schooling and all of that. Today I want to show you some of the things that we have done and give you a little bit of insight as we do a November wrap up. If you're new here, hi, my name is Brecky. I'm a mom of 4. My older 2 are in high school and have been publicly schooled their whole journey, and my younger 2 are a set of twin girls who are 6 and are roughly in the 1st grade, and we are currently homeschooling them in a Charlotte Mason-ish kind of way. Now, there's a lot going on in our family, and November has been like no exception to the kind of hiccups that we've had all year long this school year. My husband has pinched a nerve in his back and has really struggled to get up and walk around. So for the most of this month, for most of the last 3 weeks, he has been out of commission. And that has meant just a lot of extra kind of household chores on my shoulders, in addition to be the primary homeschooling parent. So things have kind of fallen by the wayside. I took the approach sort of at the end of October, but solidified it as we got into November. And my husband just woke up one morning in excruciating pain and really was just in bed, that anything that wasn't essential we let go of. So any of my attempts at doing art, any of my attempts at doing art history, any of my attempts with music and singing and Spanish and all the other fun stuff, set those things aside. We still do art projects and stuff like that, but it's none of the formal lessons. So it's a very sparse, very core-centric wrap up right now, because that's what we've been focusing on. We've been focusing on our phonics, we've been focusing on our math, we've been focusing on our handwriting, we have been focusing on our read alouds, and I have to say, shout out to the alveary, because I have not had to think about what my lesson plans are for my literature, my history, and we haven't used the natural science piece yet. I've been using little hearts and little hands for that, but having someone else set out a very gentle, a very relaxed schedule. It's not as intense as some of the other Charlotte Mason inspired curriculums. It really is hand-holding enough without being over-programmed, and it has helped me immensely. So I'm not sponsored, although if you want $25 off your first year of membership, you can get a code in my description, or if you want to just buy one subject and give it a shot, you can get $10 off with the code down in my description. So if you're interested, that's an option for you. But yeah, man, I was so grateful to not have to think about what lessons I was doing. I could just open up my notebook, grab my book. I had my captain idea there, some questions to help guide me, and then we could just jump right in. Super helpful. So with all of that preamble, let's talk about some of what we were able to accomplish this month. In our mathematics, we have just been trucking along. We have moved into subtraction. And the girls are doing really, really well with subtraction, and we are just going to sit with subtraction for the rest of the year. I think if we were able to keep up the pace of Math with Confidence, we'd actually move into place value, but I don't want to do place value before we break for 2 or 3 weeks. I am worried that that will just lead to some confusion. So unless we really fly through things, I think what we're going to do is just do an extra week of subtraction and then some weeks of review, and just really drilling in our math facts, our addition facts, our subtraction facts, feeling really confident with addition and subtraction before we do place value when we come back in January. That's my plan right now, but they've really taken to it pretty well. We have done our same kind of pace where I do 1 or 2 of the shorter warm-ups. I do the main lesson. I skip about half of the activity, like especially if they're long games, I don't do those. And then we do the worksheets either as review if we had a shorter lesson and we don't do the activity, or as the warm-up for the next day. So that has been working superbly well. It has just been really, really good for us. And it means I have some leftover worksheets that we can use in our review. It means that they are taking their time. We only do 3 days of formal schooling, and the other 2 days are experiential schooling. So that system has worked really well, and I think the kids are getting it. But I really want to make sure that when we do place value, they super get it, because they don't understand tens and ones like at all. So we really want to drive that home. So math has gone really well overall. In our phonics curriculum, things are going well. I'm noticing that my reluctant reader from last year is actually moving ahead as far as fluency, like in confidence, whereas my more enthusiastic reader is beginning to be less enthusiastic. She seems to have a harder time just staying focused on topic. I'm discerning we have been doing a lot of our lessons together and not splitting them up and doing one-on-one. And I'm wondering if I need to go back to splitting them up and doing things one-on-one. So that's something I'm going to experiment with over the next couple of weeks as we end our semester. But we are where I think we need to be. I think we're on lesson 9 in level 2. And considering we finished level 1 at the end of October, we are moving really, really well. They are reading well. We're doing a lot of compound words, all about reading. Level 2 spends a lot of time with compound words and how to break up compound words. And it surprises me that they are doing this before they teach the silent E, right? The bossy E. I think that's odd. I just find that very strange. So if you have insights and have used All About Reading and you have any suggestions for supplementation, let me know. I've been thinking about getting Explode the Code just so that they are practicing like writing out words more other than, just handwriting and copy work, but using, the brain to hand kind of piece and thinking about words. If you've used it, let me know if it's been worth it or if it just feels redundant or if you have an alternative source other than Explode the Code. I think Explode the Code is really unappealing. Like it's very not aesthetically pleasing. So if you have any ideas, I'm happy and open to those. Or if you think just stay the course with All About Reading and it'll be fine, I'm happy to do that too. But overall, we're just trucking. We're just really trucking along. Our history is the Alvieri's Indigenous Studies unit for all of grade 1, and we are just really loving it. We do history 1 day a week, which is very different than what we were doing, but I find that has given us a little bit of breathing space. We do our history reading, usually Mondays. We do our little hearts and little hands science unit usually on Tuesdays, and then on Wednesdays, barring any flubbubs in our schedule, right? Any hiccups where we have doctor's appointments or running around or whatever, we do a natural history reading about our current topic, which is rocks, because one of my daughters loves rocks. So it's our time to read more about rocks. Or we read more Native American folktales, or we use that space for the ancient history that we may or may not cover. I have moved completely away from ancient history, and I actually don't feel any regret about it. We are getting our ancient history primarily through listening to Story of the World in the car, and the girls are retaining so much of that. We do at least 2 hours almost of car rides throughout the week because we go to Park Day and back, and we go to Co-op and back. And so at least one of those loops, one of those round trips, we listen to Story of the World, and they are retaining it surprisingly well for it being our car schooling. My husband was mentioning something to me, and the girl said, "Oh, that's from the Buddha," because we'd listened to that section in Story of the World. And my husband looked at them and was like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" And they're like, "We listened to it in the car." So that has been really great. So that's where we're getting our ancient history stream in, is car schooling. We are doing our indigenous history on Mondays usually. And for the most part, we're really enjoying it. We've just finished the Inuit section. I will say the little video, they have a video that's a part of it, which you can I try to keep my laptop closed and, tablets and things closed at the school table. So we're kind of screen-ish free, but I do have, they do have some videos or pictures or like songs that will accompany a lesson in Alvieri. And you can open up your notebook and there's a QR code that just has a list of all the links you need when you press on the QR code. So you don't need to bring your laptop. You don't have to have the interactive PDF. You can print it out, just have the printed binder with you and your phone, press the QR code once every 2 or 3 weeks that you need it, listen to or look at whatever it is they have for you, and then close your phone and put it away. I love that. I love that. It is so useful. So aside from the fact that I didn't love the song story from the Inuits that they picked, I thought it was just a little bit odd. The production was a little bit weird. I've loved everything so far. So history is going really well. Our Little Hearts and Little Hands science has really taken off, and we've really enjoyed it. It has been hitting the mark. And yeah, those things are going super, super well. No complaints. It's nice to be able to have a wrap-up video where I'm like, things are great. No complaints. For our literature portion, we again are following the Alvieri's recommendations, and I've been really enjoying them. We've been doing the tall tales that are written by Mary Pope Osborne. We have been doing the Brothers Grimm retellings by Wanda Gag, I think is her name, and then the Tales Around the World. I think it's Around the World in 80 Tales. So we've been using those. We are skipping the Aesop's Fables simply because we read through all of the Aesop's Fables last year. So for right now, we're just kind of skipping those. We may integrate them in next semester, but we've already read all of the Aesop's Fables from the Jerry Pickney collection. So I'm not really worried about us reading those right now. In our other literature reads, so our sort of free reads, we have been reading the Felicity series and loving it. We finished Felicity Surprise, and we just finished Happy Birthday Felicity, and I have no idea where we set it down after we finished it. It has been shuffled, and I don't know where it was shuffled to, but we did finish these two this month. Both of these were read in the month of November. And these are so sweet and fun and a great look at the Revolutionary War. My daughters are constantly asking, was Felicity a real person? Were these real events? And we're talking about how this is a story, but these are real people. So I think it might be about time to, when we finish Felicity, bring in Ben Franklin. Or if you have another biography that is short, you know, that's like this length, let me know if you have any recommendations. The Who Was books are a little dry for my girls. We tried to read King Tut and they did not enjoy it. So if you have one that's more of a story format, I might bring this one in. I might bring this one in. I might see if they have the George Washington one. But we might do a real biography after we finish the Felicity book, so I can say, yes, this was a real person, because they're very interested on whether or not things are real. So yeah, Felicity has gone fantastically. We've not done any of the stuff from the American Girls history curriculum. We just enjoying them, having a conversation. They've notebooked a couple pictures about what's happened in the story, and that's it. And it's been super great, and they love it, and I love it. At nighttime, we have been working through The Borrowers. We read a different book at the beginning of November that they finished, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was. It might have been another Magic Treehouse, but then we started The Borrowers. We have taken our time. The language in here, this was written in the 50s, and it has that slightly more archaic way of speaking. And the borrowers themselves speak in a very strange way. Like, it's intentionally strange. So it's already strange because it was written in like 1952 by somebody who very clearly was classically educated, and the language itself by the borrowers is like a strange play on that style of English, and it was written by someone in England. So it does mean we have to kind of repeat ourselves sometimes, but they always want to read Arietti's book, like every single night they clamor, Arietti, Arietti. So we are working our way through The Borrowers, and I hope to finish this before Christmas as our evening read. And then just spend the Christmas season reading Christmas stories. And I have a collection, as you might imagine, of different Christmas stories. So that has been our evening read. Another fun thing that we have been doing in our morning basket is I used to do grammar twice a week. We're doing a grammar lesson once a week right now, and then we're doing a funny fill-in. This is just an alternative to Mad Libs. I actually kind of like this better than Mad Libs because you take they give you a fun fact and then you do a silly story, and they all interconnect. Like, these all build on one another, which is kind of fun. And so we're sort of learning, the different parts of speech. So they know what a noun is, person, place, thing, or idea, but then I say a verb. Remember, verb is an action word. So what's an action that you can do? Or an adjective is a describing word. How do you describe things? And so we'll make lists of describing words. So even though it's not a formal grammar lesson, this is like a nice fun way to do a little bit of grammar, and especially for having a more leisurely morning, or we are needing a little bit of a break because we've had a heavier couple of days. I pull in this, and it's been pretty fun. We do this about once a week. We finished our set of ebook cards. I would say about 70% of these are great and 30% of these were duds for us. They either were pertaining to classroom manners that we don't care about, or the answers were too vague. Like, the question setup was too vague to be really great. But even for some of the ones that were a little bit vague, I tried to pull them into conversation. Like I said, about 70% of these were great, and the other 30 were not as good for us. They weren't harmful. They just were kind of meh. And I think that's still okay. I still love this company, still really like their product. Am considering getting their How Am I Feeling or How Are You Feeling? They have 2 feelings decks, and I want to look at them and get one, so that we can begin to look at social emotional situations and how we can respond to those things. And then I really want to get a set of like virtue cards, which I don't think Ibu has. So I'll need to look at like cultivating our own virtues, like courage, kindness, patience, honesty, those sorts of things. I want to do a deck of cards like that, preferably non-religious, because I don't want evangelical theology creeping in. I want them to be very kind of simple, but we will see what I can find. But these were good and we're done. We just we knocked those out. I have 2 of these books, which has been such a boon for us. And so the girls are doing 10 minutes a day of reading. Now they don't have to just read the stories from these. These are the All About Reading level 2 readers. They can choose to read from the Good and the Beautiful readers. We have the level 1s and the level 2s. And because these are not the same program, the level 1s still are covering topics that they have not yet covered here. So they are reading from kind of the last 5 or 6 stories in the orange readers as new kind of progressive as far as their phonics education. This has gone really well because one of my readers is a much more confident reader. She's just got more fluency and confidence. And the other one is beginning to have some doubts about her reading ability, which is unfortunate. And so she goes slower. And her focus is just, she really has about 10 minutes and then she can't focus anymore. And that's not enough to get through these stories because these stories are pretty darn long. So I want to show you, this is the Bantam Spy Club, okay? Look at all of that. Now, if you've used the Good and the Beautiful readers, they have 1 sentence a page. Look at all that. That is the entirety of a Good and the Beautiful reader right there, is that many pages. And that's just the first page of this story, right? This is where one of my readers stopped, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot to ask a 6-year-old, I think, even a really strong reading 6-year-old. Those are pretty long stories. So we are just moving at their pace, and they are reading them at their own time. I'm going back, and once they finish a page, I read them the page while they follow me reading it. And the goal here is reading fluency. It's not necessarily getting through this so I can say, look, we finished level 1 and 2 in the single year. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is for them to read at their own pace and their own speed and really know what they're doing. So those are some of the things that we have been completing. What else? I feel like I'm a little scattered because it's a Sunday. It's one of my work days. Co-op has gone superbly well. They have loved their cooking class that they've taken. They have made, let's see, Rice Krispies, ice cream, sushi, pizza was their first one. They just really enjoyed getting to make things from scratch. And so they've enjoyed it and they've delighted in being able to bring me some of what they've made and share it with me and their dad. So that's been really great. We have one more co-op after we come back from Thanksgiving, and then we're done for the year, which is wild. We have 2 more park days, and they have been so delightful and life-giving. And then we'll be done for the year, which is wild, similarly wild. On my front, I have completed a couple of projects. This is one of my knitting projects here. This is just a simple stitch. So one of my best ones so far. And then I'm working on a big scarf. I've done like 5 scarves because that's what everybody starts when they start knitting. But this is for the twins. It's nice and thick. Like, look how thick that is. It's nice and thick and chunky. So it'll be really cozy and chunky. And it's going to be pretty long. I'm going to do, I don't know how many more rows. I have this much yarn left. I had to get a second ball of yarn because my ball of yarn did not make it, and I had to add, so this is where I added the new yarn. So that was a learning experience. So those are a couple of the knitting projects. I knitted a navy blue scarf like this as well that's already finished. So that's like my projects, and y'all, that's kind of where we're at as far as what we've accomplished. Now, I want to show you a couple of things that we're doing this coming week because I don't want to bore you with a whole separate video about what we're doing for Thanksgiving. We're not doing any formal schooling. They do have to read to me, but we are going to be reading. We're not going to start a new Felicity. We're going to be reading some Thanksgiving books. So we have a Thanks for Thanksgiving. I just got this one. The first Thanksgiving, which we've already read and we'll probably read again. Yes, I understand that this is the whitewashed version. I think they need to know the mythology before, as we also teach them real history, they should also know the mythology that we teach in this country so that they can be fluent in both what the myths we tell ourselves as well as the reality behind those myths. Okay. I have Silly Tilly's Thanksgiving dinner, which I think will be really cute. The Night Before Thanksgiving, which is set to the cadence of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, I think. So I'm excited to read this one. So these will be our Thanksgiving reads, and try to read one of these a day over this coming week. And do some thankfulness activities and maybe make, a turkey and some stuff like that. And that's really what I've got for you. We had a poetry tea time. I'll pop a picture up. We had a poetry tea time on Friday and it was so fun. And it's been a good month. Even with all the hiccups, it feels like we had our rhythm. We are not going to be changing things for Christmas school. I'm just going to preview this for you guys. We're not going to be changing a lot for Christmas school because we have our rhythm. We'll do, I think, 2 weeks of plain regular school and then 1 week of Christmas schooling. So I'm not going to do a whole different thing in December. I know some of you do, and it's really cool to watch you guys do that. But we've just, I feel like, hit our stride with having a cadence that works for us. And so the idea of throwing a wrench in it feels exhausting to me. So we're going to keep with what's working for us. Y'all, comment down below. Let me know. How was your November? Did you have a good month this month? Did you also have hiccups like we've had hiccups? I swear this whole year has just been nothing but hiccups. I hope we get a break in January from the hiccups. How was your November? What are you doing for Thanksgiving if you're here in the US? Or if you're not in the US, what are you going to be doing for the last week of November? How do you make it special? Do you have any harvesty themes? Or if you are in the southern equator, do you have any springtime things that you do this time of year? How are you going to celebrate Christmas? What are the things you're doing now to prep for things then? I've got my advent calendar stuff right outside my office. This is a curtain that I keep closed because I'm in a closet. So I've got to go work on that now. But let me know what you guys are up to. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you are celebrating, and that it is full of joy and good cheer. And until the next video, bye.